Tonight on Another Thing About Tartan, as part of our Clan of the Month celebration of Clan Forbes, we are so pleased to welcome Bart Forbes and Leslie Furbish from the US to tell us their story. Bart is president of the Clan Forbes Society, and Leslie is vice president for Clan Conveners, so who better to speak to about all things Clan Forbes? Welcome, Bart and Leslie. Lovely to see you today.
Thank you.
Good to see you as well.
Oh, thank you. So, am I right in saying that, Leslie, you're based in Maine, and Bart, are you in Virginia?
I am in Maine.
Yep.
And I retired just last year. We moved from Virginia down to Texas.
Oh, there you go. It was one or the other. I wasn't too sure because I'd seen two different addresses for you, Bart. So there you go. And how is it over with you both?
Very well. We're working into our fall season, so it's very beautiful up here with all of the trees changing. The mornings are chilly, but it warms up in the afternoon. I just dread November. Don't like November.
Oh.
I got back from a walk on the beach. It's 80 degrees here with sun and clouds, and it's lovely here in Surfside Beach, Texas.
Mm.
Oh, there you go. Very jealous, Bart.
Mm-hmm. As am I, actually.
So can you start by telling us both about your connection to Clan Forbes then? Shall we start with you, Leslie?
Oh, sure. Mine is a little different. As you can tell, my name is Furbish. So it wasn't until it's kind of ties in with our next topic, but that in 2016 I became an Outlander fan. And I got into some fan groups, and there was a tour that was created for us to go over to Scotland. And I kept thinking, oh, it would be so cool to be Scottish. And so then somewhere along the line, someone in the family said, oh, hey, I think we're connected to the Forbes family. And so sure enough, I did a little research and found out that my 8 times great-grandfather fought in the Battle of Dunbar in 1650 and was sent to Boston as an indentured servant, where he served 7 years and then proceeded to populate most of southern Maine. And we have thousands of Furbishes across the nation now. So very exciting.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm impressed you were able to go that far back in your family history.
That's getting back to Dunbar and finding out where his parents and lineage is the next step in the journey.
Perfect. And how about you, Bart?
Well, I was very fortunate that a relative of mine, actually my father, actually did our genealogy all the way back to Scotland. And so he had done most of my genealogy, and so I knew where my heritage was. And I joined the original Clan Forbes Society in about 1987. However, the organization lost its corporate status around that time. It's been mostly dormant since about 2009. So in 2018, I created a new corporation and filed for tax-exempt status as a charitable and educational nonprofit, rather than a trade association, which was the first organization. And then I was able to recruit such wonderful people like Leslie to join in the effort.
Oh, well, there you go. And so have you both celebrated your clan heritage from a young age? It sounds like maybe you have, Bart.
Well, I was one of the very few teenagers who had a Scottish clan map posted in my bedroom.
Oh.
So it was, no rock groups, nothing. I had a Scottish clan map. And then, of course, the genealogy, which was created for me. And as a result, I've been involved in the Scottish heritage community for about over 25 years. I was involved with the St. Andrew Society of Washington, D.C., for which I served 2 times as president. I was also involved in the early days of National Tartan Day in Washington, D.C., and produced the first Scottish Heritage Festival on the National Mall in front of the Capitol.
Cool.
Oh, brilliant. That's amazing. And so what does it mean to you to be a member of Clan Forbes, Leslie?
Well, I I remember soon after finding out that I was connected to Clan Forbes, I started to attend some Scottish festivals in the area, and I noticed that Clan Forbes wasn't being represented at those around me. So I think I just Facebooked Bart one day and said, "Hey, how can I do this?" And it has been such an exciting adventure. I stuck to a couple here in the state of Maine. Except for COVID, I would have branched out into Massachusetts and New Hampshire, but just the camaraderie of the clans at these festivals is so cool. And you get messages from people, "Hey, I'm researching this person. Can you help me?" Or, they come in and this last games in August, I had a couple show up and the man was so excited. He said, "I've been to so many festivals and never seen Forbes, and here you are." And so they marched with me in the March of Clans, and it was really fun. And it's, for me, history has always been a huge interest. So that now it's personal, it's even more exciting.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. But like you say, seeing those gatherings at the games are just something so special. Yeah. You don't actually see that a lot of the Highland games here in Scotland. The clan villages are quite rare. So, I mean, coming across to North America and getting to see that, we were so blown away by, like you say, that camaraderie and the bringing together of everyone for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And one interesting little, this last games in Maine, the drum major actually came around with the organizer at the end of the games and gave us all a Scottish greeting in Gaelic with our little whiskey toast. And it was just, it gives me chills just thinking about it. It was so fun.
Oh, so glad to hear it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we, of course, have to ask you both what your favourite Clan Forbes or even other Tartan out with the clan is.
Well, I have to jump in only because only one Tartan has actually been endorsed by our clan chief, Malcolm Lord Forbes, and he wants that to be more consistent. And that is what many call the modern Tartan, and that's registered number 1214 in the Scottish Register of Tartans. Of course, many people have different versions, the ancient, the hunting, the Dreamer Tartan, but that's the one that is endorsed by our clan chief.
Oh, very interesting.
I'm you know the registration number off the top of your head.
And
we have blogs on our website. One is on Tartans.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, and the modern is growing on me, but my first, actually the kilt that I have is in ancient. I like the softer. I thought it was softer for a woman, so I went with that for my kilt. But as you could see that, and I have this modern sash, and so it's growing on me.
No, you've been won over.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so, as you mentioned earlier, Bart, the Forbes Clan Society was first formed in 1979 with the purpose of honouring the heritage of the descendants of the ancient Clan Forbes of Scotland. So can you tell us more about how the society came to be originally, and then recap on how you brought it back more recently?
Certainly. It was actually, the original society was founded in Northern Virginia, which is really a hotbed of Scottish heritage activities. Two of the major founders were Colonel William Forbes, Bill Forbes, and Harlan Forbes out of Northern Virginia. They were both presidents also of the St. Andrews Society of Washington, D.C., and they were both active in the Virginia Scottish Games, Tartan Ball, Burns Night, the Alexandria Scottish Christmas Walk, and of course the National Kirking of the Tartan, which was started by the St. Andrews Society of Washington, D.C. So they founded it, and when I moved to D.C., I naturally gravitated to the Scottish heritage community and, of course, Clan Forbes, because I liked hanging out at the tent and drinking whiskey.
There you go.
That's what we know. Then, as we will talk about later, many clan societies have a challenge of turning over leadership. The leadership is aging, and in fact, the old society, as I mentioned, foundered in about 2009. And I felt the lack of that after I stepped down as president of the St. Andrews Society to really get connected with my clan again. And that's what I've been focusing on since 2018.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So now, Bart, I know you're a keen writer. I've read a selection of the fascinating blog posts you have on the Society website. So if you could narrow it down to one, would you have a favourite story to tell about the clan?
Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm rewriting, literally, the book called House of Forbes, which was originally published in 1937. So I'm going to do vast history. So instead of just one moment, I've actually selected 4 historical moments in October, in honor of October, Clan Forbes focus. So in October 6, 1430, Duncan de Forbes received a royal charter for the barony of Forbes, and that started off the eventual acquisition of many estates throughout Aberdeenshire, which covered most of the area at the time. So that was October 6, 1430. In October 28, 1562, was the Battle of Karichi. And that was notable because Clan Forbes commanded other clans, and they beat a Gordon, which is the Earl of Huntly. And that inflamed the Forbes-Gordon feud, which has covered a couple of centuries. As a result of that victory, the king granted Forbes all the lands of Huntly, who was in rebellion. Now, then in about 10 years later was October 10th, 1571, the Battle of Tilliangus, and also by the murder of Lady Forbes of Towey at Castle Corgarth. In that case, Battle of Tilliangus in 1571, the Forbes were soundly beat by the Gordons, and they went on to sack our clan seat, which was then called Castle Forbes. It's now called Drumeener Castle. And then they went on down to Corgarth Castle, and they burned down the castle, and that began the Battle of the Edom of Gordon, about how the mistress of Towey was burned alive along with her daughters. And then finally, the date of October 4th, 1715, was when the Earl of Mar, again, the Earl of Huntly, decided to rise up against the King, George I, and he appropriated the tax rolls. And the tax collector at the time was John Forbes of Boindley. And so that's how they raised money. They also identified who was a Jacobite and who was a royalist, and charged the royalists double on the taxes. So those are just 4 moments in October.
Nice.
Oh.
I'm a historian.
Oh yeah, like you say, the breadth of knowledge that you've shared on the Society blog is very impressive.
As Leslie said, I could talk for hours.
Oh, and it's fascinating, and that's what I love about all of the articles too, is that I'm always looking for that hidden clue as to William's heritage and trying to connect him back, which I don't know if I even mentioned his name, William Furbish, William Forbes, and trying to connect him back into that Aberdeen lineage. And so I'm always scouring those articles for any little clues I might be able to get.
Yeah. Oh, that's an extra challenge for you as you read.
And Leslie's done a great job in sharing that online with a blog about from Forbes to Furbish. And it's simply the pronunciation of Forbes, Fobbs, and there are many variations. In fact, my ancestor came through Plymouth Colony, was called Forbes for many generations. So we're trying to reclaim the history and tell the story to bring more people in, and Furbish is a strong connection to Forbes.
Yeah. And that as well with its own spelling. So you have Furbish, which I am, Furbush, Forbush. So it's very, but everybody again gets so excited about that connection, and regardless of spelling, we try to, get back to those records in Boston and figure out who we are.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and like you say, I think a lot of people don't realise that there are so many different spelling variations and sects that are linked to clans. So, like you say, when people weren't aware of that and then discover that they are linked to a clan, their face just lights up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Yep.
Yeah. And so obviously, as you mentioned, you've got the blog, but you also have been working on a project as a clan recently. So I've got a copy here, which is your House of Forbes for Kids. So you started that in July, and so I'll quickly flip through, but we've got some colouring pages and lots of information to go along with it. So as soon as we saw that this was something that you were working on, we absolutely loved the project, and obviously wanted to help support that. So we're very proud to be sponsors of the book. So we're going to be launching a drawing competition this month. So we want children to get involved, be inspired by their clan heritage, and they can create anything. So whether it be the castle, the crest, the chief, whatever they like. So time to get creative. And then at the end of the month, we'll have one grand prize and 10 runners that can win an activity book. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I have challenged my grandchildren. I was a little stingy because I have 9 grandchildren. So I gave one book per family at this time. But I do have to share. I was a little creative last weekend myself.
Oh, here you go.
So, while I was watching my American football.
Oh, a good combination there.
Mm-hmm. But I did encourage them all to, warn them that this contest was coming and Grandma's expectation that they be involved.
Well, have you set the bar high for them? Yeah. And so, obviously, like I say, we absolutely love this project. So, can you tell us about what inspired that and how important you think it is to engage children with their clan heritage?
I can start, Liz, by saying how much.
Take it away. It's all Bart. Yeah.
and all of our collaborators. Mm-hmm. Around 2008, I was a part of the National Tartan Day Committee. And I actually created a National Tartan Day guide for students, a teacher's guide, and a student's guide. And we did a national competition, but it fizzled. We didn't have the people on board to make sure that it was disseminated throughout the area. I had teachers on board. So that kind of went down in terms of a priority. But we've always been talking about how do we engage the next generation in continuing our heritage. And one of the families that I've grown really close to are Ron Pearson, who is our clan convener in Virginia, of course, and his daughter, Catherine, who is another second generation, now her kids. And it was at the Grandfather Mountain Highland Games about 4 years ago that I saw kind of this generic Scotland coloring book. And we just latched onto it and said, what a great idea. But you know what? Let's make it a Forbes book and let's make it better. And so about a year ago, one of my young friends who lives in Glasgow started his own digital content firm, Derek Shields. He calls himself DS Shields. And he had time available. And so I thought the light bulb went off. I said, well, now is the perfect time. I roped in Catherine, and she suggested all the activities because that's what her children like. And she's a professional educator. And I had the right team of the 3 of us, and it just took off. And we're absolutely delighted to have the Scotland Shop as one of the sponsors. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's really neat.
Well, yeah, like I say, seeing a society taking the time to work out a way to engage that next generation was something that we haven't seen a lot of. So we were, really impressed by the idea behind the project.
And it's, like I say, it's for children of all ages, as Leslie has amply demonstrated. I had a hoot all the activities, creating the maze and doing all the word matches. I enjoyed myself so much. And now, unfortunately, I know the answers. But I do have to say that we do have a PDF version on our website. So all of our members can actually download a PDF version, just print out several different copies. And so, Leslie, it's okay if you color in your book, but you can print off more copies. And I'm hoping more of our members will do that, because I love the idea of kids coloring the pages along with the adults of their family. And that's why I also added in the one activity of build your own family tree. Get them thinking about their parents, grandparents, etc. So that was also a really important aspect of the book as well.
Yeah, that's a really neat feature.
Yeah, well, like you say, as soon as we received them here in the office, we had to make sure all the staff didn't start filling them in. So, our colleague Kaylin, her stepson is enjoying going through it. She's based out in the US, so yeah, her stepson is currently making his way through it. So
very neat.
So photocopy to your heart's delight, share it all.
Sounds good. We'll have an inter-staff competition too then.
There you go. the coloring contest by age group, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
By decade.
We'll make sure that we don't include ourselves in the judging for the children.
Yeah.
So, and that's not the only project that you've been working on as a society. So I read that you've got a DNA project on the go at the moment, and that Philip Stead, who is a student of genealogical and heraldic studies at the University of Strathclyde here in Glasgow, will be leading the project. So I believe that's to compare DNA data between your chief, Malcolm Lord Forbes, and other members of the family tree DNA. So how is the project going so far, and what are you hoping to discover from the project?
Well, just the promotion of the project has pretty much doubled the number of people in the family tree DNA Forbes surname project, and we continue to get more people interested in becoming a part of the project. We were concerned about some people might have privacy concerns, but that's why I put out a blog about the FAQs with Philip's assistance, and we're excited that he's actually using that as his master's thesis at the university. So he is very much motivated. But it is, as you pointed out, a way to track back the ancestry of Malcolm, our clan chief, to see if first off he is picked by blood, and then also to connect up with other people, both in Scotland, but also in the Forbes diaspora. So to see the connections of all that, also to see the branching off of the various Y DNA mutations. The challenge is also to link in the autosomal DNA and the mitochondrial. As you know, only males have a Y DNA, and the project is based on that. But we have a lot of women who are also anxious to be connected to the Forbes genealogy. But that is only a few generations back. So that's why it's important to get a male, to get a connection at various points in the history of the Y DNA development, and to develop those haplogroups. So it's really two-part. One part is to trace the genealogy of the ancestry of our clan chief, but also to connect him with all of the other members of Clan Forbes, and to verify for once and for all that yes, Furbish is a Forbes. Forbes is a Forbes. And also to verify and justify all the women who have changed their names to say, yes, you're still part of Clan Forbes. And that's really important to me as well.
Yeah. Well, it sounds fantastic. And like you say, I think that can only add to people's kind of sense of identity and that kind of connection to the clan.
That's our hope, yes.
Oh, brilliant. And so there's a real trend just now for exploring your roots and therefore more interest in Scottish heritage. So is the society benefiting from that, and do you see it continuing?
Well, let's let the Outlander fan go first.
Oh.
That might have something to answer for this.
Yeah, and I think that certainly has helped, as well as the tourism in Scotland. But I mean, something good that's come out of our unfortunate world pandemic, I think, is people being in the house and what else to do. So let's dig back a little bit. And then too, I belong to a few groups on Facebook that I think there are a lot of Americans trying to get out of here. So they're trying to connect lots of questions on how to become Scottish citizens and that type of thing. So I think all in all, and I think we, as Americans especially, want to know where we came from. So we all know that unless you're a Native American, your family wasn't originated here. So where did they come from? Mm-hmm. And I think that in, getting older, you kind of have a little more interest in that and wanting to pass that information down to your family. So,
yeah.
I see a longer term evolution of the interest in heritage. Having first received my genealogy kind of in a book form, but then I've had to verify chunks of it. It still amazes me that I see on television, on major video channels, advertisements about DNA and heritage. I mean, this is incredible to me. And the challenge is that many of the clan society leadership are being challenged to engage in new ways with the younger generations, to connect with people who are simply drawn by Outlander or simply drawn by heritage, and to connect them to other people. And the current clan leadership, who are typically not as technically advanced as most people, they don't know how to use social media.
Yeah.
And I see that very directly since I am a trustee for the national organization called the Council of Scottish Clans and Association, which itself is struggling to connect societies who are then struggling with their members. And in fact, last June, I wrote a comprehensive strategic planning report based on my experience with as being president of the St. Andrews Society of Washington, D.C., but also more particularly with the Clan Forbes Society. But that was last June, and they've still failed to approve it because they're more disengaged. And I think Clan Forbes Society can be a real role model because of the lockdown, as Leslie mentioned, we built the society of about 250 members in the last few years strictly on the grounds of social media and websites.
Yep.
We've gotten about 10% of our members, 5% through games and festivals because of COVID. But it's primarily people find us online, on Facebook, on Instagram. They connect with us. We develop that interest. We build a relationship with them. I answer all my emails eventually. And it's really exciting to hear from people who want to be connected, but you have to follow up. And that's the challenge, I think, that is facing many clan societies. And in fact, I know the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs is looking to help their next generation, the next clan chiefs, in connecting with their own clans as well. And so the Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs has asked COSCA, the Council of Scottish Clans Association, to help them shape that. So we're all struggling with that, but they have to understand where their clan members are, how they communicate, and what they need. And being responsive is part of that. And so that's the challenge that all clan societies are facing. And I'm hoping to help them with our example of having such great people as Leslie, as our operations guy, Jim Forbes, and the many other clan members who are connected in some way to the Clan Forbes Society.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say already, I think the shift to everything going further online has been gradually coming, but then like you say, with the pandemic, that's kind of pushed that to the forefront because you didn't have the games to be able to go to next. So online was really the only way that you could. So
right. Yeah, and I did a little data analysis myself. Art, you'll be impressed. I didn't do it for 2020, but looking back at 2021, we were out of the 85 games that I tracked, only half of those actually were held. So it's coming back slowly, but to Bart's point, a lot of social media, which still needs help. It's some of these clans don't understand, I don't think, the impact that those Facebook pages have for people, or Instagram or whatever. So, getting those beefed up or websites improved would, I think, help quite a bit. I think we do a really good job. Bart does an excellent job with his communication for the clan. And yeah, I think we're a pretty good example.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I have to credit my background. I mean, telecommunications, I worked for the government for many years. I'm a public relations person. And I'm also aware of market research. And part of my public relations plan for the COSCA looked at that. And I'm not saying that the clan societies have to replace all of their in-person gatherings, but to complement it and work well together. And there have been some studies that that's effective in a way to approach it is a combination of both. Get the connection and build a relationship in person. But you have to be knowledgeable about all ways to do it and connect where your people are. Don't expect them to come to where you are. And so that's the big difference that we're seeing. That's a challenge we see going ahead.
Definitely. So I know we've just talked a lot about not being able to go to events and Highland Games, but as you mentioned, Leslie, you recently attended Maine Highland Games. So was that your first in-person event that you've been at this year?
No, there was one other also in Maine, which it's a smaller location, but it was my very first Scottish Games that I had ever been to as an attendee. And that's at Old Orchard Beach in Maine. And it's right on the ocean front. It's a sweet little festival. And that one happens in June. And so that's usually the first one that I do. And then the Brunswick Games Maine Highland Games are even more special to me because that's where I was born.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to get emotional. And there were 5 generations of us Furbishes there. So whenever I go up there, it's going home, and it's very, very special. And I just love those two. Will always be my favorite. I lived in New Hampshire for 40 years and had never been to the New Hampshire Highland Games, which is like one of the largest.
It's a very big one.
Yeah, it's a very big one. Had it not been for COVID, I might have gotten there this year, but I have big plans for next year. So hopefully I can not only get, be a representative for Clan Forbes at all of the New England Games. I'd like to venture down. I have some cousins in Georgia. So I'm trying to get them out to the Stone Mountain Games. And there are some exciting new games that I just posted this weekend on Facebook, or shared them actually. First inaugural games. So there's a first games in North Carolina. I think the other one was in that area also. So even though some of the games have died off, there are new ones coming back. So that's very exciting.
Oh, definitely.
But yeah, and again, like the environment is just contagious, and I just love it.
Yeah.
Well, as much as I enjoyed retirement and Texas, I was surprised at how sad I was not to be a part of Virginia Scottish Games for the first time this year. There's thousands of people there. I used to do the Clan tent. I used to do the St. Andrew's tent. I used to do the whiskey tastings. So I probably know about half of the thousands of people who go there. And it's real. Like Leslie said, it's real, the camaraderie, the companionship, the fun. You just can't replace that.
Yep. You're coming together with friends, so there are other conveners from last year that, it's so great to see you. How was your year? We all share whiskey tasting. So in the main games, I had a whiskey toast and a lobster roll at 10 a.m. in the morning.
I love it.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Getting the work early. Yeah. Well, and likewise, I said earlier, when we first came across to North America, we were just blown away by the scale of the games. They are very local events here in Scotland, but they're not these large scale kind of gatherings that you see over in the US. So we're going to be setting up our base in Albany, New York, so upstate New York next January. So I'm moving across myself. So no doubt, Leslie, I'll see you at lots of the games in that region. So
I mean, I know that there are great ones, but one of the ones on my list for next year, hopefully, it depends. We've got a pretty awesome tour that we should be talking about too, coming over to Aberdeen next year. But the Long Island games are really sweet too. So, but yeah, Albany's not far from me. I'll knock on your door for sure.
Look forward to it.
I grew up in central New York, so I'll have to come back.
Yes.
There you go. Exactly. If you needed an excuse, Bart, I've just given you one. So. Well, and likewise for us throughout lockdown, the people that we met at Highland Games and pop-up stores that we've been to and New York City Tartan Week, that's how we stayed connected virtually with all of these connections that we built in person. And, for all that we say this as though it's a bad thing, but being stuck here in Scotland and not being able to connect, that's where video calls and everything has kept us all connected. And seeing, I think that's how I met you first, Bart, was through the Clans and Scottish Societies of Canada, AGM, and all of these online meetings and events that we might not have managed to make in person. But yeah, like you say, that shift online has actually probably helped us connect even more than before.
Right.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, there is also the upcoming Clan Forbes Tour next August.
Yes.
So, yeah, I bet you're very excited for that.
Very much.
So, what do you have planned for the tour, and do you have to be a Forbes to join?
Last question first. No.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyone can join you then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually... hard to believe, I know, but next year my eldest daughter will be 40. So for her 40th birthday, we're actually going over a week early and spending the week in Fort Williams and Edinburgh. And then I'll send her home. And a coworker friend of mine who's been over to Scotland with me before will join me, and we're going to head up to Aberdeen for the Clan Forbes tour, and I'm very excited about that.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, what have you got planned?
We've had to delay it twice now. It was originally planned for 2020. Even that was a push because the tour was actually the motivation behind my reestablishing the Clan Forbes Society. Mm-hmm. In 2016, I had an amazing private Forbes tour for 3 days in a car with Jamie Lord Semple, grandson of the last private owner of Craigie-Bar Castle. Mm. And so he's very much a Forbes. And it was from that experience we saw Course Castle, Sligo, to Hun, Castle Forbes, Draminer. He knew the people, they were family, and so we got private tours. And when I came back from that, that's when I decided I have to do everything I can so that everyone else who's my family could have the same amazing experience that I had. And I spent about a year or two trying to inspire the last remaining officer of the old society to no end, and that's why I created a new society. But it was the tour that really excited me the most, and that's what I really wanted to share with other people. And more people are getting excited about it. We've had about 24, I think, so far.
Oh, nice.
They signed up. We've had some drop up, some people come back on, and it's going to be a 7-day tour. We're going to many of the ancestral homes of Forbes, like Craigie-Bar, Malcolm and Lord and Lady Forbes will be welcoming us to our clan seat, Castle Forbes. We'll be meeting Alexander Forbes, who now owns the original Castle Convener. We have connections, of course, with Craigivar Castle. We're going to see Sligo Castle, Tahun Castle. I went to Culloden House, which is also a Ford property. It was owned by Duncan Fifth Lord Culloden, who was the Lord President of the Court of Sessions during the uprising of 1745. Of course, that's where the Culloden battle happened, and that's what was highlighted in the Outlander as well. And plus, we're doing a lot of shopping. We're doing tours. We're doing whiskey. We're doing a woolen mill. We're doing an ancestral genealogical center, and just exploring the countryside. And then, to top it all off, we'll be joining our clansmen with the Forbes game of the Lanark Highland Gathering, which will be most exciting. I'm already in contact with local Forbes, and they're all asking, well, can we join you? And it's like, yes. And I'm also telling people about this wonderful idea that that the Scotland shop has had of having a pop-up store, and we're looking at perhaps a hotel, and I'm inviting all the local Forbes to come with us. And so that will be another highlight of the tour, is having Scotland shop there with us. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, well, we're very much looking forward to it. And as I mentioned before, Bart, whether it'll be me in person myself, as we might have switched, but yeah, certainly the team here at Scotland Shop are very much looking forward to joining you and adding to a special tour.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
So when you come to Scotland, what are your must-do things, or food to eat, or people to go and see? This might be a long list.
Yeah, all of it. Actually,
I actually have a list.
You do. I'm sure you do. So, for this will be my third trip over. So I did, the first trip, of course, was the Outlander Tour. But the wonderful thing about that Outlander Tour is our guide is a native Scot woman. And we got not just, oh, this is Doune Castle where they filmed, this or that. She gave us the history of every single place that we went. So I knew more about Queen Mary when I left than I did Jamie Fraser, which was totally okay with me. Like, I can't even explain to you how wonderful this woman was. So we did that. And then the next year I went back and I toured the borders and didn't know as much as I knew now, or I would have taken advantage of being around certain areas that I was. So in planning the trip with my daughter, I've picked those favorite things to share with her. So we're doing the Kelpies, which I didn't really get to do too much there. The Kelpies. We're going up to Glenfinnan to do the Jacobite steam train trip. And I will visit Dunbar, which I can't even talk about that without getting so emotional. But I'll be able to go to the battlefield there and visit that for the first time. Never, ever will I ever go to Scotland and not go to the military tattoo. That is just, that was just so incredible. That is my favorite. And then probably, I haven't visited all the Forbes castles yet, but I'll have to say that Stirling Castle is my favorite. Like that, I just loved that. I had an emotional response when I walked up onto the Esplanade. Just, I don't know what it was about that place, but so those are some of my favorites. And the whiskey.
Well, I think they're all great suggestions. And yeah, so I'm speaking to you from the borders this evening, and like you say, I think it's an area that's lesser known and a lot of people would miss it. So yeah, Dunbar is only maybe half an hour up the road towards Edinburgh from us. So yeah, we're just a little bit further south on that coast.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And how about you, Bart?
We're also planning to go up early. We're not quite sure what's going to be a week or a month. But I also agree with Leslie that the Prince's Walk on Stirling Castle is very emotional for me. That's actually where I proposed to my husband.
Oh, cool.
It's the Prince's Walk. On a knee, with the ring, the whole thing. Scared the heck out of the tourists. But that is my heart. And I have some very Clan Forbes centric things to do. beforehand. First off, I'm anxious to do a category, a cataloging of Castle Forbes. I need to get pictures of all the portraits there for my book. I want to do inventory of the items there, like the bear's head that's over the fireplace, the claymore that's over the fireplace, all of that, to share that, because as Forbes would say, that he is the steward of Castle Forbes for all of the clan, and I want to share that. Another thing I would like to do is go down and visit the Lord Lion. One of my goals is to get a book of just the coats of arms of the individuals who are members of House of Forbes, and have that in color in a bound book, which not only, of course, has the heraldry of that, but also has the genealogy, which I think would be a great help to Clan Forbes as well. Also want to go to the National Records of Scotland, because they are the holders now of the Castle Forbes Charter Chest, which has the original documents that I only now see the texts of. I want to get scans of all the documents from the National Records of Scotland that were taken from Clan Forbes for preservation. So go back to the original documents. Then, of course, I want to go to the National Museums Scotland, because a lot of items are housed at the museum that relate to Forbes. I just did an article in the newsletters you may have seen about the cannon from the Tartan Castle. They have other items there. And then also I want to go to the National Portrait Gallery, because there's a lot of portraits there of members of Clan Forbes. That's just the Clan Forbes Society. I also want to go to Shetland. I also want to go to Shetland because I love the TV series. I want to go to Orkneys. I love the archaeological dig. I also found that there is a sailing ship cruise of whiskey distilleries on the West Coast.
There you go.
I've been to a few places, but there's so much to do in Scotland.
I know.
And got to keep going back.
Yep. I know. My kids keep going, don't you want to go somewhere else? No.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, we make it sound as though it's been a bad thing being stuck here in Scotland, but actually, I know that I've gone and visited more places in Scotland in between the lockdowns than I would have ever done before. I hadn't been to Skye or Mill or some of the islands, so I actually have taken advantage of not being able to leave the country and gone and explored all of these beautiful places. So, like you say, there's so much to see and do that I think you could have 100 trips and do something different every time.
We're talking about doing like a month and just renting a cottage near Castle Forbes, or there's actually found a bed and breakfast near a 5-10 minute walk of Forbes Arms, the pub, on the bridge of the dock. And we're like, we'd go there, but then of course I'd have to learn how to drive again, which is a challenge.
I've got to drive to Fort Williams.
I know. So we're talking about that. Now, you also talked about food. And the one thing I can check off my bucket list was haggis nachos. Been there, not going back.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you weren't a fan? It's quite an interesting hybrid.
I love the haggis stuffed chicken. And I love the salmon. I mean, we stayed at Castle Forbes, and Lady Forbes, Ginny, cooked for us. And she cooked fresh salmon from the Don with venison that they shot on the estate, with vegetables she grew. Oh my gosh, we had 2 dinners at Castle Forbes she cooked. The food is great, except the haggis nachos.
Yeah.
Well, like you say, we like to have our traditional haggis, and then we've gone rogue with lots of other variations. So you'll get deep fried haggis, you'll get haggis pakora and nachos and all sorts, haggis pizza. Basically, any other food type, we will add haggis to. That's how much of our national dish it is.
Wow.
I love the haggis crisps. I do love the haggis and pepper crisps.
Yeah, they are good. Yeah. We did a Burns night box earlier in the year, and we had Burns tartan table linen, and then obviously it's not very easy for us to ship haggis worldwide, so we're like, how are we going to do this for Burns night? So haggis crisps were the way forward.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we'll get those on your list to try, Leslie.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush my life, but boy, 10 years till retirement. I'm like, go.
Yeah. Oh, sounds like a good plan, Leslie.
Yeah. Oh.
And so, finally, tonight, can you tell us, after all that you've told us about the society, how can people get involved?
It's really easy. If you go online, just Google Clan Forbes Society.
Yep.
You can find our website there. Go to Facebook, look for Clan Forbes. Just look for it on Instagram. Go to a games. If your games don't have a Forbes, contact Leslie.
Yes. Actively recruiting.
We have an absolutely free newsletter. That's how most people get involved. Many people offer this newsletter only for paid dues members. I was totally against that. I want to have open to people, everybody. And as a result, we have over 700 people. In the last 2 years, we've gained 700 people to our mailing list. And that's the first step of getting involved, a member, learning more about it. And that's how you develop the relationship that we mentioned before. And then they get to know people, make games. Leslie people will offer them a shot of whiskey, a wee dram, and that's where it starts.
Yep.
And it's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for both joining me tonight and sharing your insights and stories. And I wish you both a safe next few months and look forward to either seeing you here in Scotland or at a Highland Games out in the US in the near future.
That sounds very nice.
And Leslie, it's been great to be featured with Scotland Shop. Look forward to seeing you.
Yes.
And Leslie, perhaps we can say in unison the motto of Clan Forbes. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Grace
me guide.
Me guide.
Oh, well done. Well, have a great evening, guys, and we'll look forward to finding out more about the clan as we carry on with our celebration this month.
Yes, and thank you for that. That's such an honor.
Oh, well, thank you. We're very excited to find out more.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Bart.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.